the rough and tumble of family life demands toughness. And if you're creative and artistic, I think that doesn't always figure. I think it's said more tendency for super sensitivity.
I don't want to get at you because I...
Yes, don't get at me anymore, please. Don't get on battered enough.
I'd like to say that I felt that I was the battleground through which your battles were fought. I'd like to say that I felt I was your battleground through which you fought out the battles of your marriage.
Right. Well, I think that is partly true, and I have never believed that the environment we provided was not a contributory factor in your breakdown.
Yes, but your brother and sister...
It's only fair to say that I think that if I'd
your brother and sister
made the right decisions in marriage, that I could have stabilised and have avoided it. I certainly... people go through worse and stabilise than I did, as I found reading a book called Transforming Moments, a Virago book. There's no doubt that if I'd...
There is doubt, Miranda.
Anyone can tell you. Early and
but who finds the right partner?
I could probably have stabilised, had children and marriage.
But Miranda, you know by now, especially these days, that the right partners are very problematical.
Well, not for everybody. I know some people who are very, very happily married and have been for
not many.
All 20 years. And
not many. Not many. This is 1995.
For breakfast?
I did for a while.
It's sort of a bit heavy for the summer, I find.
I was in hospital and he came in really bad-tempered and said, "Oh, I can't put up with this any longer, and oh, you've got to do something about this." I don't know. I suppose I did. I had to take responsibility for myself and not let other people do it. It's easy to let other people do things for you rather than to do them yourself.
One of the things that I had to come to terms with, of course, that with the way we chose to approach the problem was in order to preserve a certain degree of quality of life, we were prepared to accept certain risks. And unfortunately, sometimes that meant that Janie, during periods of major relapse, did expose herself to great danger, did some very stupid things, and did bring herself very close to death.
I jumped from Westminster Bridge. The voices were telling me I had to jump, so I jumped. And I must have come under here, under that one, and come on the shore somehow, further down. The current just pulled me in. The time I jumped, it was because I wanted to get the water up over my head, so then I'd be clean somehow. It was right at low tide. I must have gone under here, actually.
How do you feel being here and thinking about that?
It doesn't seem like me anymore. I think what's happened is when I've been close to death and come through it, I suddenly think, well, I'm still alive and I've got to do it. Whether I like it or not. When I go out walking, I feel that I can leave the evil behind me and just take the good bits of me with me, and the faster I walk, the more it will stay behind me. I guess it's just a running away. There can be some beautiful moments when you're lying on a bench somewhere and there's only the sky above you. Suddenly you lose that sense of being pressed in on. There's a freedom above you, and that can be really beguiling.
Free yourself to be yourself with Tampax tampons. Dependable protection, so comfortable and easy to use. It frees you to do what you want, wear what you want, any day you want. So trust Tampax tampons, and all you'll feel is free. Trust is Tampax.
Meet Peter Rabbit and friends when you visit the magical new storybook land at Alton Towers.
You taken up the Churnton Challenge yet? Mild or new mature, the cheesemakers are confident that after one taste, you'll turn to Churnton.
What do you get in July and August if you like to talk?
A sore throat.
Sorry about him, Mr. Hoskins.
It's all right. You get money off longer calls.
Ooh.
After you've been talking on the telephone for 10 minutes, you automatically get 25% off of all the time you spend on the call after that. Any questions?
Yeah, what's a telephone?
It's good to talk, and it's even better until the end of August.
A great new striped toothpaste from Colgate. It's new Colgate Total Fresh Stripe. It has a great minty taste and a unique antibacterial formula that keeps on helping to protect you against bad breath, plaque, tartar, cavities and gum disease long after you've finished brushing. In fact, its green and white stripes will keep on working for up to 12 hours. New Colgate Total Fresh Stripe outstrips other stripes. And love endure. Sure.
L'Oreal introduces our greatest innovation since the kiss. New Colour Endure Stay On Lip Colour. Colour Endure stays on you.
And only you.
Won't budge, won't smudge.
Won't kiss you goodbye.
L'Oreal brings you Stay On Colour that helps lips feel moisturised, not dry.
Nothing feels so right.
New Colour Endure. The silky soft Stay On Lip Colour. Just like true love.
Colour endures.
Colour Endure Stay On Lip Colour by L'Oreal.
We just don't matter. But we do matter. And this government need us. If they want this community care to work, they need people like me, people who are prepared to take on a son full time. But I am only going to take it on if I get that help. I'm not going to be left alone. I'm proud of what I've done. I've accomplished a lot over these years. I don't have to thank this government for anything. I've done it alone. These people that make all these decisions for us, they don't realise, they don't understand. They might have knowledge of the illness. They might work with the illness. But you have to live with the illness. 24 hours a day, year in and year out. Then you can say you understand it. I'm not a clever person, I'm not a consultant. But what I've learnt about this illness, I've had to learn the hard way.
Did these people seem to be inside your head or in the next room or on the television?
On the peripheries of my senses.
Did you ever believe that you could send messages to other people?
Yes, I did.
Because I remember a time when I rang you up from King's Cross Station.
Yes, yes.
And you believed that that was because you sent me a message.
Early on, I thought I could get through to these people, and that's something remarkable so that yes.
But this also was tied up with your thinking about a psychic network and collective subconscious and so on, which are other spheres, which is why I found it confusing, because there are various thoughts to do with that. So universal consciousness, which is tied in with it.
Yeah, it's a difficulty that many people have, because to what extent is someone actually normal, and just having unusual thoughts, perhaps gifted, to what extent is someone becoming ill? And often many people are very convincing. And I just wonder when each of you actually felt James was becoming ill and it wasn't some higher creativity, because he only, in fact, came into hospital this year.
That's right.
Earlier this year, but one senses the signs were there for quite a period before, and perhaps with retrospect, with hindsight now, looking back, maybe you now realise that things that were happening then were perhaps a sign not of some higher consciousness, but that he was actually becoming ill.
I think that we all knew that something was wrong, but it was a question of how to define it and how to deal with it and how to approach it.
I think we're not going to get any further with this in discussing it. And I think the only way to get out of this is to actually role play it and see what's going on. Now, the issue is, what is this going to be about? You know, where are we going to pick this up in the session? There are a number of advantages to encouraging the therapist to role play family members, family sessions. One of them is that by playing a family member, they're forced to get under the skin of that person, to experience life and the family relationships as that person does. And that can completely change their perspective. They may be quite angry with, antagonistic towards a family member when they've been dealing with them in the family situation. When they have to role play them, they suddenly say, I can now understand why that person felt that way, and they become much more sympathetic and helpful to the person.
Family have lots of questions they want answering now.
Now, you said James hardly said a word. You're going to play that part anyway. So Dad was dominant, and Mum would chip in from time to time?
Yes, yes.
And, OK, you've got 5 minutes starting from now.
OK, well, thanks very much for coming today for this family work session. I think have you met my ex-wife, Mrs Brown? And you know my daughter Kate, because she's been up to see James on the ward, hasn't she? We've got such a lot of questions to ask you today. We've actually written a few down, but I know me and my ex-wife, we've sat down and we've
discussed because, as you know, I haven't actually met any of you before, and I appreciate you've had to come quite a long distance, and we're very pleased about that.
Yes.
I know you do know Dr Blackwood from the ward. It would help me a lot if I could begin by just trying to get a picture of how things are for you. I realise you have a lot of questions, and we will have a lot of sessions over the next few weeks.
Yeah,
when
I mean,
we
obviously we'd like to hear more about the effects of James' illness, and, you know, if he's going to relapse again, because we are very worried. You know, I look after him, he lives here, and we do quite a lot together, but I'm worried that he's going to become unwell. And
you've obviously been through quite a lot as a family. Perhaps you could then say what you personally have been through as a result of what James has been through. What has it been like for you?
And the doctor came out and said, I don't think there's much wrong with you, he says to me. And I said, but it wasn't myself. But of course James is saying it was all me. And I said, but it was James. No, just sort of adolescence, late adolescence, you know. And that was hopeless. And I just capped up the story of another doctor who came when James was on one of his tablets, when James felt he was paralysed in bed. And I called a night doctor, who first of all called back later on and said, is he violent? And I said, in no way whatsoever. He still arrived with 2 policemen, and I insisted the policemen stand in the porch. I wouldn't let them upstairs. He spoke to James from the door of the room. James is rigid on the bed like this, I'm paralysed, you know, and shouted across from the room, various things. Oh, there's nothing wrong with you. Drink lots of water to flush the drug out of you and you'll be all right. And then came down and said to me, when he is through this, he's going to be very, very violent. I should warn you. And he left. And he also was very proud of the fact that he had psychiatric training, this doctor.
You've already mentioned at least 2 doctors coming now and the school and no one realising that things weren't quite right. I was wondering, had that made you feel very angry? About the fact that you've been left to carry this and that the professionals haven't even recognised themselves?
No, I mean, I'm the sort of person who prefers always to do something himself and have to be obliged to get other people to do things for me. And, you know, I always think, oh, they're never going to do it as quick as me or something. There was also the fact that we could still communicate, even when we had these huge, furious things going on. I knew that afterwards there would be clarity and we'd be able to talk through. And I would listen to James's poetry, wouldn't I? Frequently, you know, poems every night, and we'd talk about some of the things that James was into, like mysticism and so on, which were on the verges of being unusual, but not an illness. And we could talk still. And my feeling always was, well, perhaps he's going to come through this. Perhaps it's going to be all right and we can handle it.
I do know that I mean, Jeff and I are in contact by telephone quite a lot, and I used to try and persuade you to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And we used to have on the phone quite fraught discussions about going to the doctor.
You see, the problem would have been that if Dad had got the doctors in, James would have rejected, in the state he was anyway. He was at a point where you couldn't even ask him how he was without him thinking you were attacking him.
I heard voices as if people were interfering from external influences, telling me what to do. Not telling me what to do, trying to speak to me in a way that was very unusual. Family members trying to get through. I mean, they weren't, of course. But if that was the main symptom I suffered from.
Could I ask you to ask James what way he thinks you could help him?
Okay, so James, how do you think that we can help you?
Well, I mean, you know, reading some of my poetry, really.
You could maybe get involved in that side of things, I suppose, and talking to you more regularly, I suppose, maybe, James. What do you think?
Yeah. Could be nice, yeah.
Of course, this is a chance for you, James, to say to everyone in your family what you think they need or what you need from these sessions.
Well, it's nice they're all here, you know. Nice to have Mum here as well. You know, hopefully we can, you know, learn how I'm going to be helped.
Do you think you need help at the moment?
Well, I'm fine at the moment. You know, I'm well.
OK, time to stop. Right, well, I certainly found that very interesting. Once the role play is over, you can actually ask people to stay in role and say what they found most helpful about the session, who was supporting them, who would they have liked more help from. And this can be very useful for the therapist to hear and can affect their attempts to help the family when they next go around to see them. Mum, you obviously were trying to do your best to help your son, and I noticed that your ex-husband kept sort of chipping in and diverting it. What did you feel about that? You didn't make any protest or try and assert yourself.
Yeah, I almost felt like that he was the dominant one in the relationship, and that I didn't actually know my son very well in some ways, and that I wanted to be here and be part of the family, that it was like I was obligated to be here, and I was very concerned about what was happening. But I almost also felt a bit out of what was happening, and not really a part of the family in some way, but wanting to be.
But what I want to know is, when you go away, is James likely to be at risk?
It's very difficult to tell. I mean, you heard on the programme that often relapses are associated with increases in stress in people's lives. But the other factor that is equally problematical is stopping medication.
I felt panic when I knew that Jeff was going to be away from the beginning of next month.
Until, so how long are you away for, Jeff?
It's November to February, but 2 weeks holiday around Christmas, and it's only in Mansfield, which is up the M1. I should take my car, provided it runs. I can come back. We get every Sunday and Monday off.
But
so I shan't be away for 4 months.
I heard you saying a bit earlier that I'm not going to be sort of here at his beck and call, as it were. I've got to lead my own life.
It will be valuable to ask James to read his own poetry aloud in the session, because he obviously has difficulty in expressing himself, either in the group context or probably even outside of it. And this would give him a chance to have his voice. Now, it's a pre-prepared voice, as it were, but nevertheless, he would then be the centre of attention and people would be listening to his voice. And I think that would be one way out of his reticence.
My concern is, and there is that concern, that yes, I'm not going to spend the rest of my life caring for somebody, if you like, in that way. But my concern is much more for James, that he ought to have the opportunity to see what it's like to live as an independent, mature
But
adult.
can he do that?
Well,
There's not a question of us saying, sod off, you've got your medication now, you know. It's a case of saying, well, I'm not going to sacrifice everything and do everything for you, but I am here because I care for you, not because I am a carer.
This is
and
why I
that's
use
the
the word
difference.
I am not his carer, in that technical sense in which carer is now understood. I mean, obviously we care, and I'm his father, and I'm his mate, and he's always got a place with me when he wants to. But it's all to do, I think, with James also taking on his illness, if we care to use that word, which I know James doesn't like, and I don't think he's anywhere near doing that yet, of saying, well, yes, actually, this is my problem, if it's a problem. This is my life.
Fishing, it's relaxing, isn't it? Takes your mind off all your worries. And you escape, don't you? Eh?
That's my biggest fish ever, £22. £22 4 ounces. October 5th, 85. Yeah, it's all grub in there. I've got the small, big flask in there, the small one's in your bag.
Derek's already there, he's baited up for us. So
yeah, it's good.
I've got to be strong. But I can't be strong on my own. I also need somebody. There's nobody out there. Nobody wants to help me. I need an arm round me sometimes. And then Barry, if he comes home, he'll need not just us. He's going to need really special support. And it's no good just for a few months and then he's forgotten, like last time. I mean, with this illness, it's got to be a permanent thing. And I will worry now, worry right through to when he's ready to be released from the hospital. I take on, he has his fears, I have my fears. I have my fears for the future.
common. 5 years since he caught his last fish. He's finally got one. He's a lively one, him. Oh, back there. That is a lively fish. Yeah, okay?
There is a medical guide to schizophrenia which includes a collection of poetry, art and other works by people with schizophrenia in a special Channel 4 booklet. For a free copy, please send a large stamped addressed envelope with 2 first-class stamps to Edge of Madness, P.O. Box 4000, London W5 2GH. What crime fits the punishment? Short haircuts, cold showers, food that doesn't feed. Exercise that never ends. Fleas, disease and constant brutality. Driven to self-mutilation. All this for stealing an ice cream. A true story of crime and punishment in a child labour camp. Next Tuesday at 9 on 4. The inherent turmoil within an inner-city ghetto highlighted next on 4 in the film premiere of City of Hope.
When you've only a few minutes to look just right, you can rely on new Imac Cream. It works in 5 minutes because it rinses straight off. New Imac Cream, 5 minutes and you're ready to go.
It's a different experience. I feel alive. My skin feels supple. Really, really soft. When I tried Dove Cream Shower, I had such a great feeling. Like with yoga, a kind of glow.
New Dove Cream Shower is different, and its moisturizing cream helps strengthen your skin's natural defenses against moisture loss for softer, smoother skin.
My skin feels wonderful. And so do I.
There are 2 differences with Always compared to what I've been used to using. What makes Always different from conventional towels? First of all, the main one is they keep you so dry, which is so much nicer to feel, so much drier. And the other factor is the slimness of them.
The Always surface is different from conventional towels, drawing virtually all the liquid into the towel, so you feel fresh and dry.
I didn't think there was going to be much difference between towel compared to towel, to be honest. But I was obviously wrong.
Always Ultra and Always Regular. All you feel is fresh and dry.
Did you hear about the trouble on the first floor?
Why? Have you heard something?
Morrison's out.
You sure? I thought he was here for life.
He's, retiring.
I never thought he'd retire.
Neither did he.
There may be trouble ahead, but while there's moonlight and music and love and romance, let's face the music and dance. Let's face the music and dance.
Does he know something we don't?
I don't know.
You needn't worry if your life changes. Allied Dunbar financial plans adapt to help you cope with the unexpected. Allied Dunbar, for the life you don't yet know.
Deutsche Ingenieure stellen tolle Reifen her. Aber miese Dachterrassen. Continental Tires. German engineering where you need it most on a car.
You are entering the white room. Yeah, that's the password. And you can leave your hang-ups at the door now. 'Cause this is the white room. That's the password. And you can leave your hang-ups at the door now. 'Cause this is the white room. you are welcome.
Adrenaline junkies get their fix on the big wave. You want the ultimate ride? You gotta pay the ultimate price.
You got a death wish. You want to ride to glory? Fine.
Keanu Reeves.
Pull the cord now! Nah, you pull it.
Patrick Swayze.